The U.S. government is being destabilized. Some government workers are trying hard to save it, but others are not. Of course, not a lot of information on internal efforts to stabilize the government can be revealed. However, the public needs to be aware that a danger does exist and given tools to protect itself. I have a master's in public health and recognize this as a public health issue. I've started the PND Public Safety Project, PPSP. It is a 3-year project to help the public cope with the extreme and unusual tension around the election. I fear that the psychopaths next door, PIDs, have stoked a fire of fury and will use that to cause chaos. I would like the project to be an open information source for the public on recognizing PNDs and finding ways to avoid their manipulation. I will refrain from talking about techno torment because not a lot of people believe that it even exists. I will stick to what is known and confirmed so far about PNDs. I read an article that said the Democrats' election strategy is to let the Republicans continue their self destruction. This can work for the Democrats, and to try to send help would mean risking getting pulled down once the opponent gets back on their feet. It seems like the normal occurrence of a party that lost its way, but people who are more aware of psychopaths see beyond what is visible. My research into psychopathy has allowed me to get more insight into what could be happening behind the scenes and some hidden motives that are troubling. Here's my theory. I am not a licensed mental health professional, and I have never met Donald Trump. So, what I am about to say about his mental health is speculation. Trump shows signs of malignant narcissism and or psychopathy. I am stating that to make a point, not to insult or attack. Trump seems to be causing a lot of trouble, but he is probably not acting alone. He is a pretty powerful person, and he is an ex-president, so that will attract psychopaths to him. Most of them will be PNDs. Each PND that joins him may have their own agenda, but they are willing to work with Trump to achieve his agenda. A part of PPSP is a workshop called Beyond Trump Supporters, which explores the possibility of affinity psychopaths and other groups who have infiltrated the Trump supporters to achieve their own goals. What does this have to do with anything? It looks like the Republican Party is imploding and Trump is the main point of contention. Not all Republicans support him. It is also true that not all Republicans are racist and many are decent people. These are the ones that could stand in the way of a psychopathic agenda and need to be assimilated or removed. An example would be Pence refusing to do what Trump wanted and ending up hated by many Trump supporters. Trump does not have the overwhelming support from his party that he had during the first election. This gets in his way, and Trump likes to get his way. Hopefully, it's becoming clearer that the Republican implosion that we've been seeing is due to an attempted takeover by someone who might be a psychopath or malignant narcissist and has status, clout, and backing by others like him to remove or assimilate his internal opponents so that he could fight the external opponents and get back in office. That is the behind the scenes look at the Republican implosion. Why should we be worried? This smaller internal fight is practice for the big external fight that is the election. If the candidate gets his way, he has another tool to pressure his internal opponents to assimilate or get out. What is going to happen is that the decent Republicans will be silenced or leave. The Republicans will become dominated by psychopaths, and the decent Republicans will be too afraid to speak up if the new Republican Party behaves badly. They will constantly be pressured or forced to support a malignant, narcissistic, or psychopathic leader, probably no matter what. Not our problem, right? Wrong. Why is that? If Trump wins, the Republicans that disagree can switch parties and make the Republican Party less powerful, right? Well, this is why it's so important to have an above average understanding of psychopathic personalities. The only interest a psychopath would have in winning over or trying to keep supporters around is to get to the main goal. Whether the decent people stick around after the election is won is inconsequential because a psychopathic leader would have secured the goal of the presidency. Power over the internal and external opponents will be increased, and now he is a force to be reckoned with. He doesn't need them anymore. Jan 6 made me take a second look at Trump and think that he may be a dangerous president who won't do what's right for the country. There are other decent Republican candidates that could do the job better. The decent Republicans may need a helping hand in getting the best candidate for the presidency. The Dems can't really help because they are the opponents, but maybe the people can help in some way. The PPSP can give Republican voters more information that can help them make more informed decisions during the election year. As for the Democrats, PNDs can pull them by their heartstrings. Here are two sayings for the Democrats: everything in moderation, and too much of a good thing isn't a good thing. In other words, overzealous, inclusive efforts could leave others feeling excluded. Not all the people who are dubious about inclusivity efforts are resistant or racist. Some tolerant people could just feel excluded or that their concerns are not being considered by all the inclusivity efforts. The Democrats need to find out how their inclusivity policies are being implemented and if there's any abuse that leaves a bad note. The diversity and inclusion and anti-racism policies currently in place have a little safeguards against people abusing them and is really too much too fast. Democrats must explain to their base that there needs to be a shift towards a more balanced approach to diversity and inclusion and anti racism efforts. Going hard helped make big strides in the beginning, but it also caused the backlash that the Democrats are currently feeling, and that is helping Trump. If the Democrats keep going hard, that can actually hurt or undo all the things that worked in the beginning. This leads to why Trump is the number one Republican candidate. His base is fiercely loyal and will vote no matter what. However, he is also appealing to the religious people from any party. These are people who will vote for him to prevent the quote sins unquote that they perceive the democratic policies are permitting in this country. What Democrats can do to counter the Trump is our David to their Goliath illusion that some people have, and there is an article where someone actually describes him like that, what they can do is to raise awareness about PNDs. Right now, Trump is being portrayed as a textbook psychopath by the opponents. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. It's not really working because the general understanding of textbook psychopaths are that they are murderers, serial killers, and professional thieves or something like that. Trump has caused a lot of trouble, but he hasn't really killed anybody. So describing him as a textbook psychopath seems like an exaggeration. However, raising awareness about malignant narcissists or PNDs can be more effective because many of these types of high conflict personalities come off as the usual difficult person who is not really a danger even though he or she causes so much trouble. The Democrats must bring in, or whoever, must bring in experts, not people with basic understandings of these personality types to educate the public and then let each person decide if Trump fits that bill. Here is an example of what I am talking about when I say that those who are religious will consider voting for Trump over the Democrats. Trump aligns himself with Christian values and appears to be willing to fight for those values. So, a devout Christian may feel as if they have only two choices: vote for Trump or don't vote at all, because the Democrats seem to be sending the country to hell with their rushed inclusivity efforts. That is what a devout Christian may think. They may not like what happened on Jan 6, or they may not even trust Trump, but they are on the fence over the controversial issues and the way that the Democrats have gone about their inclusivity efforts and other things. When it's time to vote, they will have to decide whether or not to vote for Trump because his rhetoric aligns with their strong values, or don't vote at all because they may feel as if they are, quote, sinning, unquote, by voting for the Democrats. Either way, it will help Trump. The Democrats probably have to be more moderate in their efforts on issues that clash with people's religious values and look for ways to make their inclusive policies more acceptable to religious voters who aren't any type of phobic or racist. And they must do that while trying to keep the voter base that they have been courting. I am bipartisan and don't really care which party wins. I want the best candidate who will do what is right for the country with less concern about his or her own agenda. I hope this helps both parties put forth the best candidate possible so that the people will have better options. Let's say that things continue as they are and nothing changes. That doesn't look good for the country. I want to say that there are people who want to destabilize the government and the rest of the country. They have a technology that can help them win a civil war if that should happen. This technology that people think is a conspiracy theory, impossible, or doesn't exist, is the backbone of all this. It is what gives the PND network I research the galls and the power to create mayhem at their pleasure. It is also what will make the country give in to them if it has no defense against it. I know that there is a remedy and a way to fight off their technology or devices' dangerous effects. It is easier to research preventative, neutralizing, or defensive solutions right now rather than wait until the country is in turmoil. I won't go into detail about that because my main focus right now is to get you to see the visible dangers and at least do something about those. Here is a nightmare scenario. All the little disturbances can all come together. Okay? One night, the other groups that have infiltrated the Trump supporters decide to attack and somehow launch their attacks a day apart from each other. Then the protesters that have been causing disturbances intensify their protests. Then the most rebellious of Trump supporters follow through with their threats against the government. Who are you going to call? The police, then the military. That is a nightmare scenario, and maybe it won't be that bad. But the point is that the police and the military may need to intervene. That is why what I'm about to tell you is so important. I'm not going to ask or beg you to believe me. I am going to ask that you take into consideration my observations and keep it at the back of your mind, or even better yet, start preparing just in case I'm right about the following point. You may think that I'm going to point out that those defenses will be overwhelmed, leading to chaos, but it's worse than that. Using the worst case scenario that was mentioned, imagine that the president has declared a state of emergency and called on the police and military to act collectively to try to maintain some order. The police are dispatched and the military is deployed. Everyone seems cooperative and ready to fight. And here's where you may want to sit down. The only problem is that most of the police force and the military support the vigilantes. You now have part of the police force that are good cops and ready to do what is right, and another part that is ready to sabotage those efforts so that the vigilantes will prevail. Not only that, but they know your plan and you don't know theirs. You can call in the military, but the same goes for the military. Part of the military supports the vigilantes and won't do what is right. That is really hard to swallow, so I will give you a few seconds to let that sink in because it could really happen. Why do I say that it could happen? My real life observation while doing field work for my research showed that parts of the military and the police force are part of the PND network that I have been encountering. I feel bad saying those things about people who are risking their lives to serve and protect, but it would be cruel of me not to expose them. Why? Besides the obvious dangers, I fear for the normal and good soldiers and police who have to work with these people. Psychopaths don't really go for teamwork unless it supports their agenda, and they will put their own team at risk if they feel the need to. I have cringed and teared up at the thought of a brave, upright soldier teamed with a psychopathic soldier who doesn't like him or her. That soldier is out there fearing the enemy will kill him, but he is also fighting alongside an internal enemy who is capable of anything and finds nothing wrong with sabotaging a fellow soldier. I'll leave it at that. I don't want any of the brave and good people who fight for others to have to fear their own team members. The point is that the country's defenses have been infiltrated and destabilized. If you think this is an extreme idea, think again. The military is well aware that groups like white supremacists have joined the military to learn combat. It has been happening for years. I will talk about these topics in the Beyond Trump Supporters Workshop. I hope to get donations to offer the PND Public Safety Project to the public during the election year. Donations can currently be made through Tenany Publishing and are not tax deductible. I will do as much as I can on my own, but if you would like to help me help America, then please contact TeddyPublishing at gmail.com to find out how you can contribute to the PPSP efforts.